Welcome back. Order 1-1. Mammoth have not yet won. Everything is right with the universe.
Oh, Mammoth, man. Come on, bro. Don't do him like that.
I needed to rhyme. What can I do?
Hey, our tech was sick, though. He was hitting those hooks.
He was.
We're going to talk about something that was good from him. He was hitting those hooks.
I love that as well, because the way that you talk about people playing catch is everyone always talks about the catch, Rusty. But you're a man that talks about the throw. See, everyone in Twitch chat just talking about how good Ayla is at catching hooks. But you're talking about how good our tech is at throwing them. And I honestly think they're the most underrated part of maybe the OPL, is that bottom lane of Mammoth. Because they do not look like a 0-6 bottom lane after 3 weeks. They actually look like they're fairly good and fairly consistent, for sure. It's just when your top lane is 50 CS down, not really all that much you can do as an Aphelios versus the Renekton that's 2,000 gold ahead of you.
Yeah, it reminds me of Praedyth in the OPL last year as well, you know? Like he had such an unfortunate win-loss ratio, but he looked like he was playing out of his mind with his duo as well. So another one of those, perhaps.
Another one of those.
Season 10 that game.
What was that, Skimmy?
He couldn't season 10 that game, unfortunately. I mean, we saw, right, in certain phases where they were getting those hooks, they were getting those picks, they were getting that gold lead. But when the whole team were just that insanely fed, Big Doss rocks up and's like, yo, I've got all these items. Do you want to try and do anything? And just gets like 2-tap with the swipe. So, yeah.
Is this the strangest timeline you've seen in the OPL, Rusty, where maybe Swiper is the best played around? I don't want to say the best, because obviously that's against Avant.
Yeah.
But like they don't play around Topoon. Yeah. I'm saying that, so Topoon is the best top laner, for sure, in my opinion. I've said that the whole time. But actually played around, I would say it's like Chippies or Swiper at the moment. Because when they get, lane ganks, when they get turret dives, they do establish very good leads for themselves. And he's normally the weak side player on the teams that he plays on, right?
Yeah. I think that Order plays around, like when they play around their top lane, I do think they do that better than the Direwolves as well. There is this weird, uncanny thing with the Direwolves, right, where they will play around top lane, but there's a time and a place for those, and sometimes they don't pick the correct ones. So I think in general, yeah, I think you're correct.
Miru just has a huge crush on Chippies, to be honest. Miru and Chippies are inseparable for the first 13 minutes of the game. It's just 2v1 lane. But I think, really solid game plan coming through from Order. They obviously knew Aphelios was going to be taken, and there's no point really leaning into Aphelios. Let's be realistic. You may as well just scale alongside the champion. He doesn't have the most oppressive laning phase, but if you make mistakes and give it gold, it just explodes out of control. So instead they just pick a strong side top lane. They pick Sylas into Corki, which is I don't know, if you're a Corki player, you probably think that matchup is miserable because you can die at any point in that laning phase. And they executed in the 3 areas of the map really well, and then Rare just scaled alongside Mboma and had a couple of really good team fights.
And while we're speaking of things that look good, Dragco in the chat says Spawn looks like Nico from GTA 4. And this just backs up my Russian gangster theory, even harder. So I'm a big fan.
It's the fighter haircut. I swear, it's not even the jackets, because this is back-to-back jackets. It's just it's the number 2 on top, fade on the sides. This is, because someone the other day said I look kind of like Conor McGregor as well, and I was like, well,
wasn't that Skimmy?
Was it Skimmy? Skimmy, come on.
I say a lot of things. Half the time I forget.
It definitely was Skimmy. And then Raz is in the chat. It says, cousin, let's go bowling. To just round out this whole conversation. All right, it's time to jump into the Nick bag. Roll the titles. Who would have thought that little baby face would grow such a disgusting mustache? All right. The Nick bag is live. We're looking for questions about your home and all the problems with it. We've got some of the home, some for work, some just about shoes. Let's jump in. Steel Sings Oath says, one of my housemates is really bad cleaning up after himself, not washing dishes properly, not putting his clean dishes away, not wiping benches, and doesn't look after our kitchen stuff properly. How do we talk to him about this? He's a good person, just not really aware. I've banned him from touching my Dutch oven and hidden my rice cooker. My other housemate has quietly moved her frying pans out of the cookware drawer. Please, for the love of God, help.
Start putting it in their bedroom.
So when it's dirty, relocate.
Yeah, so everyone can ignore dirt when it's in a communal area because you can lie to yourself. But no one else goes in your bedroom. So if you got a rice cooker that hasn't been cleaned and all of a sudden it's on your pillow, fairly sure you're the person that used the rice cooker at that point. That's what I'd do. I'd start putting it in their bedroom.
It's a catch-22 too. I had a situation, right, when I was living in this flat with a ton of people, and we ran out of cutlery and bowls and whatnot. We're just like, where is it all? Like, who has it? We couldn't see it anywhere, like in the living room or in the kitchen or whatever. And we went into one of these guys' rooms, and he just had like a stack of like knives and forks and whatnot. Like, what are you doing? So, I don't know, it depends how or where they are, right? Like, as you say, quite rightly, in a communal area, you can just be like, oh, it's not mine, who cares, somebody else will do it, somebody else will be a good person.
That doesn't sound like an awareness issue, Skimmy. So the reason I say it this way is because they're saying that they're a good person, they're just not aware that they're messy. Your person just sounds like an asshole.
Well, that's what I'm like trying to understand, like, are they being nice with the question, or are they being, So, I mean, that's just my take on things, right? What I saw, and it was just like you had that kind of sit-down conversation and sort of work things out as to, like, is this working, or can we move on?
Because I've lived with messy people in the past, and there are some people that are messy and they don't know they're messy, and you have a chat to them and they go, I never knew that. My ex or my mother or my dad or whatever always cleaned up after me. I'll try and get better. Can you teach me how to use the washing machine? And then you have human beings like the scum that live in the Order Gaming house that haven't mopped the floor in 12 months, even though we've only been there for 6. And those people, you just got to remove from your life, Skimmy, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, I agree. Like, you have a conversation, because the whole thing, the thing with roommates is you're not in a relationship, so it's like you don't have that kind of like total honesty when it comes to just like it being able to talk about your emotions with someone, but you're not total strangers as well. It only works when you have a conversation. But if you can't have the conversation, I would take Spawn's thing, which I think is good, but I would also just start putting food on their shit. So I would just like go into their room, put some pasta sauce on their pillow, just like smear some Vegemite on the computer monitor.
Of course you would.
Just the idea of like, well, now you know how annoying it is to just have dirty stuff around. Because I'm actually arguably more interested in the idea that the rice cooker is hidden, the housemate has moved her frying pans out of the cooker drawer and is storing them somewhere. So every time she's like, okay, I'm just gonna like quickly make us some bacon for breakfast, she wanders out and goes to like a room
next door.
Yeah, and there's like all this cluttering around. Then she comes back, and the dirty housemate's like, "Where the hell is the frying pan?" That to me is very funny.
Yeah, I mean, I see this question, and my first thought is, depending on your relationship with them, you could also, like, organize this, right? Like, you could say that this day is your cleaning day, and so that they are at least held more accountable within the whole household as well, potentially, as an idea. Depending on, how close you are with them.
Someone in the chat said, oh, who was it? It was Aussie Unicorn or something. My housemate had 12 spoons in 12 cans of soup in his room. I wondered why we had no spoons.
That's pretty much what I'm saying. I saw stuff like that. It's just traumatizing. Like, how do these people live in this state? I don't know.
They don't, Skimmy. They don't. You let them move into their own house, and then Darwinism or whatever it's called takes care of the problem for you.
Absolutely. But I have been in this situation. The honest conversation is the thing that works. My best friend, when we lived together, a few of us lived together after high school, he was just a nightmare when it came to this. We sat him down. We shamed him in front of the entire house. When I took photos of the mess and presented them to him like evidence, and then we stuck them up on the living room wall so that when people came over for the next couple of weeks, I would point and I go, look at what Ben does. And then it got to the point where he was like, all right, I'm going to start cleaning all those clams.
No.
Yeah, it was just, that was a bad time. All right, so good. Public shaming. I think it's really underestimated.
It actually is. Do you know statistically, public shaming is actually underestimated as a form of punishment?
Is it really?
Because Singapore and other areas use it with things like litter and chewing gum and things like that. And they have a very high success rate of removing those problems from society. So I actually, even though you say it in jest, I genuinely think public shaming is an underutilized method of coercion.
Can I suggest an alternative still sings that if it gets if it gets too bad and nothing is working, then you get your roommate to basically do the Walk of Atonement from Game of Thrones, where you just strip them naked and walk them through the neighborhood.
And you're hitting the pans together, saying shame.
Hitting the pans. Yes. Excellent. I mean, if you could find the pans, because they're hidden.
Empty soup cans, whatever it might be.
Excellent. I love it. Okay, cool. So this is a hangover from last week, but I did really like it. They didn't leave their name on the Google form, but we were asking for questions about work, and they said, "Is it okay to take annual leave when work starts to get really busy?"
Okay, are you just an employee, or are you like invested in this company? Because I feel like for Nick and myself, the answer is definitely no. But for anyone else that is just an employee, the answer is, when is the correct time to take annual leave, if not during peak season? If you can get it in first, that's perfect.
Yeah. I echo
find
that.
it hard to argue with that, hey. Like, if you're in a position where you can't take the annual leave, what can you do as well? Like, if you are in a position where you can take the annual leave, that's amazing. You can take the annual leave, do it.
Totally. It's built in, like, there's a certain amount when you start, when you start hiring people, little insider knowledge, there's a certain amount of human nature that you build into that relationship where you know these people are going to screw you over in small, acceptable ways. And I feel like that is one of those ways where you just go, I know that when stuff gets really hard, the human instinct that takes over is that people are going to be like, I don't want to be here. and that unless, like Jake said, unless you're in the position of power, then yeah, by all means, that is why they invented annual
Wouldn't you
leave.
argue, Nick? It has to be like, is it premeditated in the sense like you've booked this big trip overseas maybe 6 months in advance, right? You know, like flights were cheap, or there was a really awesome deal to go to Europe, so the only time I could go was now.
Skimmy,
you know,
it's the opposite.
Different, sure.
So I used to, when I worked in finance, and I knew June was going to be end of financial year, and everyone was going to be working overtime, and it was like shit was going to be getting real, I would book it a year in advance. I would just make the flights be on, like they're going to be on sale eventually if I book the annual leave a year in advance. You just got to... That's what annual leave is for. I'm there to work smart, not hard, my friend. I'm out of there during peak season. Get me on a plane.
Absolutely. Please, get us, any of us, on a plane now. We want to be on a plane, but we can't go on a plane. What we need to head into is game number 2. It's PGG versus Gravitas, and PGG putting up an excellent fight yesterday against Legacy. Obviously not being able to take it out, but really putting Legacy to the test. Gravitas looking to be an easier get than what Legacy were yesterday, but PGG, one of those teams that can run very hot or very cold. So it will be interesting to see how we go. Let's jump into game number 2 and the Macca's Champ Select.
Are you ready?
Of course.
So cute.
Paddle.
My goodness.
That's close. I like your chicken.
My goodness, that was way too close. Hit again.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you slightly took it.
Alright.
Victor Q.
Death Ray.
No, it's Siphon Tower. It's Siphon
No,
Tower.
it's Death Ray.
He said Q. He said Q, right? Siphon Tower.
He said Q, yeah.
Yeah, he's Death Ray.
My bad.
That's 2. That's 2, baby.
I rally it.
Defiant Stance.
Do that one.
Bingo.
Baleful
Baleful
Strike.
Strike. Oh my goodness.
I got him. I'm on it.
My
Did I
goodness.
play it? Vega
he's on it.
I'm the Vega
Continue.
kid, don't worry.
Aatrox Q.
Darken Blade.
Is that it? I legit have no idea.
It's a Dark Blade.
And welcome back for our second game of the day. It's a big one. It is Pentanet.gg taking on Gravitas. It's a bat actually at the bottom of the table, which is a bit of an interesting narrative to go with here, Rusty. Both teams sitting at both 5th and 7th respectively. Both on a bit of a loss streak at this stage, but You'd argue that with the creative quirkiness that Pendinet have shown, and definitely based on how far they pushed Legacy, they will take the slight edge here.
I mean, it's quite an interesting consideration to even put them in the standings, Gibby, after yesterday's games. It was,
Yeah.
I mean, one hell of a showing from Pensinet.gg, even though they were going to lose. They were against the best team in the league. Pushed them to their limits, I think it's totally fair to say, and looked like a fantastic team in their own right. And once again, Skibby, if you've watched any of the other leagues at the moment, the LEC, maybe you've watched some LCS today, you've seen some Fiddlesticks, you've seen some Volley Bears running around, you know that they're strong champions, but if you watch the OPL, you haven't seen it. And we're left wondering, have the teams just discovered that the champions are that powerful today? Or last night if they were watching? Or have they been practicing these things all week? And like you highlight, PGG are one of the teams that would be practicing it early. They would bring it out early, and you would expect it from them. So very interested to see how this continues.
Certainly does. Also, we can see the Fiddlesticks band coming out as a result, really, of what they did in week number 1, where they rocked it with the Nocturne mid and just had an absolute field day with aggression and terror, to put it lightly. As we are running through this draft incredibly quickly, and obviously, interesting note is that yes, we still got those ADC bans, and yes, we have the Yasuo taken away as well, but we are going to have that variation that steer away from what was a bit of a rigid Syndra bot lane. They were always first picking it. It wasn't really that flex because you kind of imagine it was just going to go bot lane anyway, but it wasn't able to achieve that much of a lead. Now they've changed it to the Ashe. They combined it with the Karma, so they've got a lot of perma shove to try and answer to this hyper carry Aphelios.
Yeah, it's a lot more lane control that comes out of an Ashe and a Karma, just from wave control of their base spells, right? Level 1, they've got wave control. That's going to continue for quite some time. It means that they can play towards bot lane if they want. They can play towards a winning jungler if they want as well, just having that bot lane presence and first move, or they can just play safely. You know, they can push in, they can disappear, they have decent control, they're hard to catch, and they could play top focus. So I'm most interested in their 4th and 5th rotation of champions. And so far, you know, they've gone for the Ori, so fairly standard mage in mid lane. You're looking for something, I want to say creative in top lane, but Kwaku may just consider the Poppy because it's a potential Ornn matchup. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think Quake is definitely going to want to counter pick at this stage. His form, I don't even want to say it's his form. It feels like he goes from one game to being what we saw, then the next minute he goes 0-6, and it just feels very up and down. Really rough showing for him trying to integrate into this new roster here. Poppy, as we know, really strong pick, and last time he went into the one, I believe it was into Pat Price, he was making flashy dash forward, knocks into the wall, getting solo kills. So you put him on a comfort, make sure that he is going to be that reliable factor, and you can work through the bottom side of your draft as well.
Yeah, and now we've got the Kassadin as the last pick here as well. Forget back on the side of Pentanet.gg. They've got a hyper carry in mid lane. They've got a side lane threat if they're going to keep him there as well. Xuman is going to have to go for the teleport to match the potential of that Kassadin. And what this all means, and we saw this early anyway, is that the set's not going to be going mid, and that they are going to be flexing it to the jungle role with Biopanther with that early rotation of the Ornn. That does mean that Kwaku gets a good matchup. That does mean that Praelis has a tank to use his ultimate on as well, Skimmy. It does mean that there's still a lot of strengths available to the Gravitas roster. They've got Engage, they've got Frontline, they've got very good front-to-back 5v5 type team fighting, but the opposing team scales like you would not believe. That's going to be a nightmare if the game goes long enough.
It certainly does, and this is very characteristic right, of Pentanet. Yesterday, the game against Legacy was the longest one to date in Split 2 so far, coming in at 40 minutes, and before that, they took the crown in Split 1 at 50 minutes. So this is a team that are no stranger to the scaling game. It's a word that it gets chucked around a fair bit, but when you got picks like the Ornn and the Kassadin, as well as the Aphelios, obviously, with all the ornament upgrades that can come across as well, yeah, they're definitely going to be looking to try and control the tempo, not fall out of favor. We saw how strong they were in that first 15 minutes against a team like Legacy, but then they're a team that just are so good at bouncing back in the mid game, right? So if they can have a very strong early game, they set themselves up for such a great foundation to reach that late point and not have to be fully reliant on, we need to hit level 16.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of, I want to say it's a focus on a fast-paced style of game from Gravitas. I think that's what we're going to have to really watch for from them in this game. You've got, so it's, I don't want to say it's them being fast, but it's about controlling pace more than anything else, right? Karma does speed the whole team up. Sure, Ori can do a similar thing, but Trundle slows you down, Ashe slows you down. Poppy's are very much like a tempo control player with the flank threat of an ultimate even as well, with your heli Poppies running around. They've got a decent combo with the Trundle and Poppy as well. You can place the pillar to slow someone, smack them into it. And that could be deadly if they're able to hit those combos. But I do feel like it requires them getting a lot of control of the map early and turning that early control into a gold value, into an actual worth, and snowballing a game through that.
And we've seen how pivotal it's been when they've linked up their mid and jungle and get those early skirmishes under wraps, and then allowing those two in particular to run away with the game. The question now begs, right, what are the greatest threats that they want to try and really emit some pressure on? You know, you can look at 3 of these lanes. Obviously, they're all going to be a little bit harder with his ability to dash away and be invulnerable to that CC. But you look at the pre-6 Cassidy, you look at the Aphelios before a Polymorph or a Wild Growth can come out. These are very real lanes that they could potentially look to try and target.
Yeah, I would say the Ornn lane's free. You can just hang out if you're the Poppy, just try and hold on. And I say that Quaker needs to still play to his standard that we expect from him, because he's been solo killed in these matchups that he shouldn't die in a few times, just this split alone. So we do still have to be very careful what we say about that top lane matchup, just given the history. But you've got your pre-6 Cassidy. You always want to try, if you can, to get a gank on your pre-6 Cassidy, maybe blow a summoner spell, maybe blow the teleport early, make laning phase easier for Orianna. She does run out of mana pretty quickly in the very early game before Lost Chapter purchases, so definitely a place that you want to focus if you're Trundle. And Trundle's great at that. Like, he may not be known as the best ganking jungler to ever exist, but a single pillar could blow a summoner spell, and then just playing the game is so much easier if you're the mid laner that's working with that Trundle. And with bot lane, it's the same thing, right? Ashe hits a volley, Trundle hits a pillar, the slows are on, the follow-up's going to be there, kill threat very high.
And then on the flip side of that, obviously, Rusty, then we compare that to the Set jungle. And we've talked about how Set can be so versatile in his ability to flex around, but not necessarily our favorite place for him to be. In saying that, obviously, his ultimate at level 6 is going to be very good for those tower dives that we know Pen and Net are quite accustomed to. What do you really think, given Pub's aggressive nature and his tendency to want to try and control those camps, be it Dragons, be it Heralds, do we think he's looking to try and match the pressure that is inevitably going to come out here from Payless, or just sort of stick to that game plan of control the map and sort of coast on through with that quote-unquote scaling option?
So let's just take a second to talk about junglers in general here as well, because we do have Parbu versus Praelis. They are former teammates. Parbu was the top laner for Praelis on Gravitas when he was the jungler, and now we've got them jungling against each other. So there's a little bit more on the line than just the jungle pathing and champions themselves. There's a lot more to it. Parbu has been one of those junglers so far that does fancy himself a camp lead and an experienced lead if he can find it. The set against the Trundle in terms of clear, I want to say fairly similar as speed goes, but Pub is one of those guys that'll want to have priority if he can, to be able to play cross-map through jungle camps, get those small leads, really just force every inch that he can away from the map. As Gravitas are actually going to be the ones with the first move here. The question is, will they get in?
I'm really liking this.
They've spotted Human.
This is very creative. I believe Predator would have just caught tail end of Praelis walking forward. They haven't leveled up anything just yet that I can see of anyway. And the volley comes out, so the invader attempted here by Gravitas to steal away the blue. It's not going to be successful, but bear in mind, Pabu wasn't even in there. He's at their blue buff.
Pabu's way off. He's actually, he's at the enemy blue buff, but he's going to be deterred by Quaku's existence at the buff itself. Quaku's not going to start in lane. So he's going to miss some experience, and really he's just buying time for Praelis. The camp's already gone. He's moved on to the Gromp. Pabu just started hitting the camp. Bot's got massive priority.
And this is what we highlighted in the drafting phase, right? They have so much damage. That's going to do it. Level 1 First Blood Puma showing up here today.
Yeah, and they know where Pabu is, right? So there's no threat of someone coming down there. They've got their jungler on the correct side of the map. And like we mentioned, from level 1, they've got so much wave control and damage. They don't even need to hit the wave if they're hitting you. They get the heal out of Rogue. Praetor, while he has the teleport, he's not even going to bother using it. That lane's just cooked from level 1. And Gravitas start this one off with jungle tempo, as he's going to cross towards the enemy red buff as well. This is really hitting it home. Pabu not allowed to play jungle right now, as Praelis has got his measure.
This is incredible. The whole of Pen and Net right now have shields. They want to play defensive, but Gravitas will not give them that chance. As soon as he face checks his reds, he's forced to flash away, and yes, he will have that Hex Flash, but Gravitas is definitely preparing something special for us today.
Yeah, Papu does tick over to 3 by hitting the Krugs. He did that with no hesitation as well, but Praelis is still definitely the stronger jungler of the two. And he's going to push him out, probably even force the recall, and just take everything that he can away from him. It's a masterclass of jungling here, but through draft more than anything else, right? That's the thing that stands out the most to me here for Gravitas. They've drafted a mid lane champion that doesn't have priority in Get Back's Kassadin. They've got Set, who isn't the strongest jungle champion outright, often just flex to try and give a better top lane matchup. And the top lane matchup got countered. It was an early Ornn rotation. And they've gone for the Lulu Aphelios bot lane, which is a fine lane, but they've picked the Ashe Karma into it that can hold them at bay very easily and force priority. And that's the name of the game here, right? Get priority, let Praelis win the map, try and out-jungle your opponent and win the game through those two.
Such a different strategy from what they showcased yesterday into Legacy, and potentially a little bit of disrespect shown the way of Gravitas, who are thinking, well, okay, that's how you want to play. And this is what we've got ready to rock and roll coming into this one. Priority in all 3 lanes as it stands so far, and they're making great usage of it so far.
What have they gotten so far, right? They've gotten the first blood in the bottom lane. They've gotten the heal out of the Lulu as well. They've gotten the flash out of Pabu. He is a Hex Flash set, so that is not, the single most significant thing. The one thing that does stand to importance, though, is Set's first gank of the game is generally very flash reliant. If you don't have that flash, you're not going to be able to hit the face breaker, follow through with your team. You now need your team to set up some kind of crowd control. And just, if you look at the rest of his team, there's not a lot of it. To start this, you need the Gravitum perhaps for Praetor, and then you could. But get back. Here comes the pillar.
Expected. Out comes the pillar. He has no mana. He has no flash. He had to burn it. Takes a bit of damage. Red buff will slow him. And Pabu was there, but can merely watch to say I can protect the wave. I'm in the area, but it is pushing away from him, so that won't be necessary.
We'll get another summoner spell for it. So again, Praelis, he gets the priority. He's turned it into leads in the jungle role, and now he is translating that into leads in lanes. Beats, of course, still having priority in that bottom lane is going to come and help him as they take down the Drake. Everyone starting to find a big lead here for Gravitas as a result of their draft strategy and their execution.
Well, based on how this first 5 minutes have definitely gone, it's now Pentanet looking to try and bank on their mechanics has been a major factor to really carry them through to that state where, yes, obviously checkmark number 1 being level 6, and from there to the subsequent ultimate upgrades that will no doubt empower. A few checkmarks for him to cross, but really these first 15 minutes can be all about Gravitas looking to try and abuse their priority, achieve as much as they can to build themselves a substantial lead.
Yeah, it's definitely about them trying to extend their lead. Some things to consider, a big break point for Pentanet.gg, and what are they, right? So Kassadin hitting level 6 is actually a pretty significant break point. He's managed to get the Catalyst as well on that time. So he's actually a pretty big champion to deal with now in that mid lane 1v1. Human yet to really base is quite weak and needs to be careful, very respectful of where the set's currently on the map, where the set currently is on the map. That wasn't English, sorry. Because they have kill threat on Human until he resets. And even when he resets, right, the Lost Chapter gives him sustain and a little bit more wave control, but the kill threat's still very high.
Yeah.
But so far, it's just going to be extending their leads for the side of Gravitas, because that's the one big advantage they have. It's a level 13 comp for the Ornn, it's a level 16 comp for the Kassadin, and Aphelios is that 2-item to 3-item champion. And they're waiting for that while they're behind.
Certainly are, and these lanes aren't going to be able to receive much assistance at this stage of the game, as Praelis has said. Jungle Kingdom starting from this invade on the blue buff, and now coming back for a second time to compound this advantage, which is double the CS of his good friend and former teammate.
Babu's going to work his way down towards the bottom side of the map. He's going to find that the blue buff is long gone. It shouldn't be something that is massively surprising to him. Of course, he's passing towards the Crompus regardless. But there's no Scuttle Crab either. There's just an extra 4 CS in his pockets, while Praelis grabs the blue for his teammate, grabs the Scuttle Crab, goes past the Raptors, moves towards his own blue buff as well that he can pick up for himself as he wants. Or he can save it. He can go into the enemy red side jungle and just give back-to-back blue buff refreshes for Human. Gives mid lane priority. Suddenly they've got threat to dive top lane where that Ornn is, and things just go from bad to worse for Pentanet.gg.
Well, this is them definitely continuing what worked in the early stages of this game, running it back one more time, and Really forcing Part Blue out with no real option to get himself back into this one, as the red buff will be once again stolen away. Everything belongs to Prayless, definitely showcasing. It's not as easy as you might make it out to be. The switch between those roles, as Suman now with the blue buff makes life work of this wave, will be the first one to rotate to provide assistance to this Herald that's been started up.
I think this is more homage to the fact that jungle diff can be team diff, right? Like, that's one of those things, and it could just be draft diff, and we're just seeing the execution of the strategy from Gravitas. Now they're going to, like you mentioned, move towards Herald. It's not going to be contested. They've got the map flip on Pentanet's side, and actually when you look at the gold right now, it's only 8 minutes in, so you wouldn't expect any significant gold differences. But it is pretty small overall. You know, they're still farming. They're still getting levels, most importantly. You know, it is 8 on both solo laners now working towards their 11s, 13s and 16s to spike as fast as they can. But we're nearing that point in the game, like you're just seeing now, where those plates will start to fall, where the gold lead may start to grow. Puma's 6, the potential is there.
And lane flips are traditionally used, you know, to find yourself an advantage. In this case for Gravitas, it was to get themselves the numbers towards that Herald, but it doesn't change the outcome for the duo. They're going to continue to push this in. Does not make anything easier here for Pentanet, as Quake will take advantage, being the first one to respond, and I believe he actually got himself a plate as a result as well. That keeps this gold lead at a healthy 1k lead.
And sustaining that for quite some time here as well. We are getting item spikes now as well for a get back. We're going to constantly discuss where they're at, because they are all about scaling.
Yeah.
And while we're discussing where they're at, we're looking at how much of a lead their opponents could get. Because one of the biggest risks and one of the biggest holes that you don't want to fall into, Gravitas, is losing control of the map. If you lose control of the map and your opponents can hold this like steady state where they're just farming evenly, then they're winning, is how you would always look at that. You need to really see what they can continue to push the bill and get advantages where they can. You know, there's a Drake in 15 seconds. Are they preparing for that? Well, they flipped the map, so yes, they're looking at that. Is that going to give them gold? Probably not. Can Pentanet.gg sacrifice that Drake to get an extra 20 CS into the pockets of both their solo laners? I think yes. Do they want to? Probably not.
Well, absolutely. I mean, these have to be the check marks that we keep in consideration alongside what Pentanet are looking for, right? Those item breakpoints, those items themselves, or albeit the levels themselves. That can come online for them. Now, as we're seeing here, Pentanet have said enough is enough. 10 minutes for this one. Yes, we're going to have to sacrifice ourselves down. We have to flash away from that enchanted arrow. We wanted to try and start ourselves up here with the first dragon of the game. Quake goes on and denies the stun. The headbutt will not connect. They have bullied their opponents off. Turn that 1k lead into 2. The interest rate incredibly high as we hit 11 minutes.
Yeah, so I feel like I just had a discussion about this, right? They didn't need to contest that. They should have maybe considered getting some extra minions and lane priority, but here we are. They contested it. They used summoner spells to disengage, and now they're at risk of being dodged.
Tower dives, love to see it. Face breaking into a showstopper, into 4 members locked in place, but Grid expires, and so does his Hellfire. That's a tower. That's a double kill. As Predator falls on down in quick succession, and this has to be the game plan for Gravitas, as we say. You know, they've gone up against a comp that is building for scaling, building for those check marks, building for the late game. It's all about building the biggest gold lead possible before that rough transition from mid to late.
And I feel like that decision was really tragic from Pentanet.gg. You know, the 2 of them dying, the bot lane turret inevitably falling as well, contesting the Drake to lose priority in that lane positioning as well, being one of the biggest things that starts that off in the first place. Just a little bit more patience from them maybe would have been required. Just remember they have a scaling comp. And I think you can look back at that. I'll probably look back at this myself and, you know, make a second decision on should they have gone for that Drake at all. I think they tried to maybe sneak it away and rush it, but the cost of that was so very high.
Well, what does that cost mean, Rusty? That 2,000 gold lead that we keep harping on about is now translated into 3,000, so they continue to find advantages, continue to find ways to build up the lead. Now, this is only 13 minutes in, mind you, so still very early stages, but they are definitely using, or taking great advantage of what their comp is built to do. Find early leads, run with that wind, continue that momentum, and hopefully reach a state in the game where by the time scaling comes into effect, it's too little too late.
Yeah, you want to have maybe somewhere above 6,000 gold lead when the time scaling connects. You know, you want to have enough of a lead, and it's hard to say a tangible number, but you want to have enough of a lead where you where the scaling doesn't matter at all. And at best case scenario for PGG, it equalizes. And we kind of said this yesterday, right? With Ezreal having cheap items, you can afford to fall a little bit behind just because you'll get your items faster. A similar thing could be considered with scaling champions. There is always going to be that break point, that point of no return, and that is the level 16 mark where things become deadly. This is where Hex flashing nowhere, and Barbu might be caught.
It's not looking too good, is it, Rusty? The Tether will be disconnected from. He'll be conceded to hiding underneath a top turret, a very familiar place from where we fell down before in the bottom side of the map. But some big breakpoints are coming online here. The Archangels has been completed here by Sumin. Compare that to the Blooded Ages, as well as the Blade of Rune King now is there on the Ashe, as Aphelios is still sitting on a BF sword, wishing it was an Infinity Edge. So big disconnect, and that's based on the fact that Ashe has 1,000 gold lead individually between the two of them.
And we just saw the Ornn ultimate used to clear a top wave, trying to get some minions away and delay the turret take from the side of Gravitas, really slow them down if they can. And usually you would do that because you're trading on the opposite side of the map. You're trying to build tempo for yourself, get the advantage in the pace of this game. But you just watched Kwaku thinking he had Troll's blood in his veins, right? He's just not taking any damage, regenerates anything that he copped, and just pushes back both members of Praedyth and Rogue here for PGG. They get no turret damage, really. I think maybe a little bit. Whereas Gravitas, after that ultimate from Ornn, on the next wave, just break the turret easily. And they continue to push that build forwards.
That they do, Rusty. Wherever this Gravitas duo go, they break down turrets. Now, top turret and bottom turret have been taken on down. It's 2-0 in favor of Gravitas here. 15 minutes in, the gold lead continues to grow from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 as we count numbers up. Some break points now in favor here for Pentanet. They do now have the Infinity Edge online here for the Aphelios and the Mikhail's Crucible on Naluna. And let's talk a little bit about what that can actually be used greatly into. One, obviously the stun or the slow from the Ashe, breaking the tether here from the Karma. Those tend to be the most obvious one.
I mean, that's really it, right? The other one could be like a Poppy Wall Slam. One of the other things that could really lock you down. But the major purpose of having that is because you can use it on anyone, including yourself. It's an instant cleanse as well. And it's got a decent range. So if someone steps a little bit too far forwards, a la Rare, sometimes when Order plays their games, you've got that tool to immediately save them like nothing happened. It completely nullifies, in a sense, the Ashe ultimate engage tool. And when you look at the engage that Gravitas have, that is a major part of it, right? The other consideration is still the pillar, though. So you don't need to have that hard engage if the pillar connects to enough targets, because you'll have Kwaku to follow up. So they still have other tools. It's just a really nice option by Rogue as a nullifying factor for the one major engage that they have.
They work wonders here as to what target they decide to use on to try and turn in the tide of these fights, and that magic resist will be quite nice. Rogue will definitely enjoy having those combat stats in his back pocket there. As the second Herald gets deployed and breaks through the mid turret now, so every single outer has been taken on down.
Yeah. Now we're at the danger zone though, Skimmy. This is the third Drake of the game, the Ocean Drake as well, and it's going to be an Ocean Soul above all else. So this 4,000 gold lead that Gravitas have netted themselves at 16 minutes is decent, but now in 5 minutes time on the dot, we're going to find a very important moment for Pentanet. We have to assess how far ahead are they, or how far have they managed to get into their scaling before that fight happens. Because if they give away the Ocean Soul, that's a hard yakka to actually get back into this one.
It certainly is. Keep your eyes firmly fixated on that timer in the top left there as to when that Ocean Soul is up and available. And one of those breakpoints is the fact that Getback's Kassadin is now a level 12. So he's definitely well on his way there. And only a couple of levels for Bio to involve himself at 13. And Praedyth now completing the Zeal, well on his way to that item spike with the completed Rune and Hurricane. So if they can hit those breakpoints before this Ocean Soul fight, they could actually be in a very formidable situation.
And it looks like he's going for the Frozen Fist, Biopanther. He's got the makings at least of the Glacial Shroud. So maybe not going towards the Abyssal Mask, obviously into the Infernal Mask when that evolves. We'll see where he chooses to go on his next reset, however. As generally speaking, it's not a bad upgrade, but generally speaking, the Abyssal Mask is the preferred choice, and there is magic damage on the opposing side. They've got the Karma and the Orianna, who's starting to scale up.
little bit more lockdown is what it would provide, as they are lacking otherwise. They don't have the liberty of an Ashe with constant slows, and with the ability for them to deny stuns with pillars and shields that a Poppy can present. This would add a bit of extra utility into the kit here for Ornn.
Once again, everything that is in the jungle belongs to Praelus. Harvey not getting a thing. He still has managed to sustain the CS difference. It hasn't grown out of control for Praelus by any means. There is a 30 CS difference in mid as well. I will say the one consideration for PGG is that they have been farming exceptionally, considering the state of the game. But they've kept it at 4,000. You know, they've kept it at that stagnated game state. And so, unless something changes in the next couple of minutes, it's all going to be about that Ocean Soul and what they can get done, Gravitas, around it. And if Pentanet.gg can stop them.
Next, the question is 4,000 gold enough, or relative to what Pentanet actually have in their inventory by that stage? Obviously, we've seen games where the gold lead is 10k, and sometimes even still, that is not enough to be a difference maker, or the luxurious items that can come online as a result. So, 2.5 minutes now. We are halfway through that timer to a big deciding factor as to the game state of this one. Been very cool, calm and collected on the kill front, with only 3 kills going across to match the 3 turrets that Gravitas have taken, but it's been all about those small victories from macro, farming and strategic objective control.
Really slowing down is this game. We've got no mana on Praetor if he throws a turret down. I was thinking to cycle weapons, they're reset. But he's choosing to stay, so he's really showing his hand in that he just wants to catch as much money as he can before that reset. He'll be very close to his item. You would have to imagine, based off the fact that he chose to stay with literally 0 mana and wait for 30 seconds for a wave to crash, is that he has the item after this wave. It is a cannon wave as well, so it'll be in a whole abundance of money. And if you were Gravitas, you do exactly what they are right now. They keep him here, they pressure him, they don't let him reset for free at this point because he's shown his hand. That should be enough money after this next wave for the Runards. Depending on if he wants Zerkers. That's the question. He's only got brown bags on his feet. Does he want the Berserker Greaves?
It's going to be a tough order for him to consider. He does decide to go for the Hurricane, so the Power Spike is well and truly online here, except without Berserker Greaves to complement it. Going into Puma, who has himself the equivalent with the Blade of Rune King, the Berserkers, and a Vamp Scepter, so
yeah,
still a big item discrepancy between the two. The Athene's Unholy Grail has now come online here for Beat, so shields will now present themselves not only movement speed, mitigation, but also health back.
So we're at that danger zone now, Skimmy. We've got 45 seconds until the Ocean Soul is up and available for Gravitas. Pentanet.gg would love to be able to take these Ocean Drakes in general, just to have them for themselves.
Okay, get back. He hits the angry BMO, and that is not one he's doing subconsciously. That is one with anger. As the slam dunk comes out there from Parvu, slows in place 3 people. Everyone's going forward aggressively. A shockwave only onto Keston, and it won't do much. The Karma Shields come out, they run away, but Praetor from Bio pick up a killer piece at the crucial time. The Dragon is spawning in 15 seconds. They find their moment, and they deal their damage. That could be a major turning point here, Rusty.
And it's hard to say that they want to fight shortly after Get Back wastes his flash on the spot. Maybe he's just a Mega Mind player, but nevertheless, they'll win the team fight. They'll get 2 kills back 4-0 on the side of Gravitas. They'll also pick themselves up the Ocean Drake with no contest. Praelus wants to steal, but they're going to push him so far back that it's not even a possibility. It's just going to be a pipe dream. And you'd think they could reset, maybe even consider going towards the Baron, with how much they have delayed the death of Praelus here. That could be something that we'll see from them. And suddenly this scaling composition, it was only a 4,000 gold lead. The Ocean Soul could have been the difference maker. They've given themselves, at minimum, another 5 minutes of scaling, and now it's scary.
4k will squash to 2k as a result of those 2 kills picked on up, and that 5-head flash there from Getback potentially stunning their opponents in absolute confusion as to what on earth is this caster doing. We're going to jump into this replay here and see how it all started with Parvu just jumping in and locking in place so many members.
Yeah, so Parvu chooses to engage, goes forwards, and does buy a decent amount of time for himself. He also tries to go for the W flash and maximize his disengage. But the real MVP here is Praetor. Puts in serious work with that ultimate. It was also a Gravitum ult, so he locks them all in place. And Quake, who unfortunately I think the idea was sound. Lock Biopanther down under the turret. Make sure that he can't disengage. Maybe you trade then. But it was too far gone. The fight was over. And so he sacrifices himself as well. And now we have that full reset. We've got level 13 for Bio. We're 2 levels away for Get Back. Praetor has got his 2 items like we spoke about before. So he was online. Abu.
We continue to hit more checkpoints as he sidesteps the Enchanted Arrow, then uses the Grit to make sure that he will not fall on down. Full disengaged attempt right now, but they found a target in their sights. Knock him into the wall. Rogue is gone. Gravitas may say, okay, vision control, topside river, it belongs to us. Okay, we're just going to start up this battle. Do we look to try and force a turn, or are we looking to commit? Pabu has not reset, mind you, Rusty.
Yeah, he has a Hex Flash. Skibby, but he doesn't have anything else. He's starting the Hex Flash in. Oh, he's committed.
He's just fully committed. He just jumps in mid-animation. He's dead. I don't know what that was, Pabu. The bypass for ultimate went out as a zoning tactic, does not hit anybody, but he just pulled the trigger and went on in. The
look at
Baron now
Praetor, though.
is a very real possibility now. Praetor completely uncontested on the back line with Chakram's and a sniper. One goes down, shut down for the Castle, and Oriana out of this fight. Now it's a double kill for the Castle. Late game scaling, baby. Just love to see it. The carry's coming in clutch. That's a triple kill for Get Back. And he's going to get himself the Quadra. Absolute monstrous performance. And the question mark for Pabu before, well and truly forgotten about.
I mean, they don't even need him. That's the thing. They've scaled so well into this game that even if Pabu is inting, they're going to be able to win the team fights. Gravitas do lock themselves inside the pit as well. One of the hardest ways to fight yourself out of that situation was how committed they were. And I mean, it's dire straits suddenly. This game was an even game state. They had the lead. One mistake, and that's all it takes, and the punish is just significant. It continues. It accelerates wildly out of control. We'll see this once again. We'll ignore Pabu's decisions, and we look towards the rest of the team. Get Back actually levels up in this fight just randomly, of note. And Biopanther's so tanky that he's going to be able to stand in front of them and just apply, just be a nuisance, basically. While Praetor hits his ult, he has the range as well, so he's using that sniper. He's also got turrets that he's able to place down in the pit itself, so he's constantly at range with shurikens flying everywhere, putting down the damage. And it's a 5-level difference, by the way, between Get Back and Prayless. So when he gets over that wall after stagger the triple, it was an easy one.
Dream starts for Gravitas is slowly going away from them as Pabu gets called out in the enemy jungle as the team was sieging with this Baron buff, looking to try and turn that gold lead that was so far against them. It was 4,000 against, now it's working 2,000 in their favor. So well and truly working towards their goals. Level 16 is now there for the quadra kill Kassadin.
That's probably dead.
He's 0-3. And
How's he dead? How's he currently dead?
Did you miss what happened before?
Yeah, I was looking.
He ran in 1v4 into the enemy red buff.
Oh, did he?
An arrow to the knee and fell on down.
So he's continuing on the same path that he was before.
I don't know. The guy's having fun. We are back, and now this time our points, our discussion, everything that was 400 IQ, we can actually discuss and people can hear us. We are not speaking into the void. We went 5 hits, just full on ban.
The game froze, right? Or the game was paused, and we didn't know that the stream was gone. So we spent 2 minutes looking at an image, the last image that we saw, talking about the game in so much depth. Like, you have no idea how deep we went. I've already forgotten most of what we said, to be fair.
Should we try and recapture it? Should we try and run back the Matrix? We're going to open it up again. So where we were 26 minutes into that game was the fact that they just had that fantastic Baron fight. Pabu jumps in, looks like an anime boss, falls on down, the ratings go through the floor. Garbage. But then we see Aphelios have the dream setup, Chakram, snipers, you name it, that's Aphelios. You love to see it, but then Kassadin, Get Back, he hit that Big Daddy moment. He hit the level 16, he went for the quadra kill. You love it. You love it, you see it, you want it. Now, 5-0-3, he's got everything he needs online. We're going to see it on the screen right here. There we go, okay? It is the Zhonya's, it is the Seraphs. It's absolutely insane. Mitigation, damage, prevention, anything. He can be so damn aggressive. He has his ultimate on a 1.5 second cooldown. He has the flash. He is going to be jumping into that backline. And one key target has to be Puma. He has the mobility. It's Ashe. It's not meta for a reason.
Skibby, great information. Love everything you said. But the most important part about that pause is that we learned how to make incredible tin can phones. And that was the thing I was hoping to tell the viewers, but we're so deep in the game information now that I'm not sure we ever can.
No, that was actually half the reason we delayed it, because we had to keep that conversation going on for such a long time. But here we are. 26 minutes into this one, and as I say, framing this one up, 6 kills to 8. The gold lead well and truly in Pentinet's favour. The big turning point obviously was the contest for that Ocean Soul.
Yep. And it's still on. There's a soul point available if Kralis finds a way into the pit. We'll see how he goes.
Io's going to open up things here with the Orn ultimate, looking to try and zone as well as he can. He blocks out the Ash Arrow, now flashed away. Blast goes himself back into the pit. Pabu 1v5, slaps them all down. The shockwave looks good, and
Get back. He just got, oh my god.
He's got a Penta. It's going to happen. Quaker's running. He gets the blast code. He's got flashes. He's got dashes. He's got damage. Give us the Penta. Oh my god, he's getting juked. It's DDR, fancy feet, everything looking so damn clean.
Oh
There's the
god.
Penta kill in the stream. We've seen enough.
I cannot believe I came back. Did he just get a quadra kill with a single ult? That was nuts. Babu just set him up with like a 5-man face breaker. He made them all kiss and get back, just smashed them on top of the, oh my god.
I am so damn angry. I had a pen in my hand. I stood up. I chucked it on the floor. That was gross. This time, Pabu jumps into the back line. This time, it's not an int. It is clean. And that is going to be all she wrote in this game. It took a while to get us back, but boy, was it worth it. Pentanet, 28 minutes in. It's a quick game by their standards, but they gave us our first pentakill of Split 2.
Gee, I'm glad we had the delay for that. We got to see that a couple of seconds later. Get Back's in the chat with his angry bees as well, and it's very much deserved. I mean, Jesus Christ. That was nasty.
Very gross.
I want to
don't
see
think
it again.
any of us were ready for that. We were talking about tin cans, we were talking about memes, and we come in and suddenly, where on earth did that come from? Angry gaming is what we seem to be chucking around as a very loose term here, but that was angry. That was Paul's gaming.
Yeah, it was all pent-up anger coming out there. Pabu, of course, the one starting all that off. And it is worth saying that no matter how much he chooses to int and die in a couple of the team fights prior, I think he made up for it with that one.
Well and truly. You can talk about jungle diff in the start of the game, and it definitely was. But all it took was got one good ultimate, and he certainly did find it there, Rusty. That is game number 2, well under wraps. That is a victory that Pentanet are searching for. And that'll do good for them in the standings now, putting them at 3-3 as Gravitas now go 1-5, sitting in 7th place. Up next, after the break, reigning champions Legacy will be taking on the red-hot form of Avant.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! This is deadly! He's got it!
Welcome to the 2020 OPL. I am Nick Boy Richardson.
And that's a beautiful hemo play onto multiple members. He gets himself a double kill. It's Ray's doing what he does, the team fight king.
We love everybody. We love the OPL.
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.
They made you wait for it, but PGG getting it done there with the pentakill there at the end. A very exciting one. I mean, it would have been terrible if we came back, spawn, and it would have been just 15 minutes of slog. If you're gonna have a pause, you want that pause to end with just one of the most decisive endings to a game this split so far.
Well, the thing is, Nick, is when we write the script, we only allocate each game an hour game time.
True.
So when you have a 15-minute pause, you have to make it up with some quick gameplay on the other end. And obviously, get back Pabu. The boys knew that we were on a little bit of a clock. They had to get this done in the next 3 minutes, otherwise we're going to miss the next champ select. And they just jump in 2v5, I believe is the correct way to look at that one. Level 16 Cassidy, certainly a fun champion on Summoner's Rift.
Everything he said was factually correct, Nick. Every single detail.
And also, Rusty factually correct, the tin can conversation was by far my favorite conversation that we've had today, and no one will ever experience it except for us.
I really wish we could have had that conversation on air, but we got back into the game and Skibby had one of those moments. You know, he's got his 5-minute tirades. He just kept talking about League of Legends, and I wanted to talk about tin cans.
And no,
he was gone.
The TLDR is we were trying to figure out how to beat the Guinness World Record for the longest tin can phone conversation, which is like 250 meters or something. And we inadvertently just invented the phone again. And we thought we were really smart for 70% of the conversation, and then we suddenly realized, oh no, wait, we've just invented the landline, and it doesn't count. All right, let's jump back into the Nick bag. Twitch Menno says, shoes or no shoes for taking out the garbage?
Where is your garbage bin?
That's the question. Because if it's on grass, no shoes is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, but where do you... No, so I was asking a genuine question. Where do you leave your garbage bin? Are you a garage? Do you have a specific spot for it out the front of the house? Like, where is your, like, actual green bin? Or your red bin or whatever it is in Sydney?
Garage during the week, out the front on collection day.
Yeah, so then you don't need to put shoes on. You're just walking through the garage.
Yeah. It's Rusty.
Well, I'm in an apartment block, right? So our bins are like a communal area that requires me to go through the front door. So like shoes are a necessary thing, unless you're just a dirty specimen.
Also,
so not much of a choice there.
If the bins are being kept in the same area, because I always consider like any area around a garbage bin is contaminated, and so just wandering up to something, unless it's on grass is okay. But even in a garage, I put shoes on or some sort of foot covering, because there's like the car is in there, the tires, there's like probably mice somewhere, there's definitely cockroaches, there's no place for the soft sole of the foot. Why?
Do you have inside shoes? Like, do you have slippers that you wear around the house?
Well, around the house I do, but not like as a rule. I have Ugg boots, I will wear socks, and I will go barefoot. So I change it up, but we tend to not wear shoes in the house.
Why is your garage so filthy?
They're inherently filthy. I'm not saying it's actually dirty. I'm saying that like it's dirty as a byproduct of its function. Like
Its function is to store a car.
Street.
Yeah, but how does a car get... The four wheels are the only thing that touch the street. And you live in a nice part of town. What are people just walking up and peeing on your car or something? Like, the car's fine.
The rich think they can get away with anything. So the streets are just disgusting.
I am fine with putting unless it's like a bin that has like bin juice in it somehow, in which case you need to have a stern talking to someone in the house about putting wet things in the bin. Then I think it's fine if it's on a concreted area to just walk out with whatever you got on your feet.
All right, there you go, Twitchman. I hope that helped. Diane Keto says, my housemate takes 15 minutes to turn off his alarm in the morning. It wakes the entire house up. What's the fix? That's
that's bad.
That's so bad.
If it wakes up the entire house, it's bad.
That is no bueno. That is real no bueno. I would move out. I would evict. I would give them, like, do you know what the actual solution to this is? Mm-hmm. Call the police.
Right.
Because this is a noise hazard. Like, people can't just create noise in their houses. Like, it has to be a regular temperature. I would call the police on them. I would say, I have a neighbor that has a really, their house is really noisy. I want to file a complaint.
Is this discussion going to move towards solutions to make someone wake up from their first alarm? Because I feel like that's obviously one of the solutions if you like their housemate. You don't just want to put them on blast constantly.
No, if they've been doing this for months, you call the police.
I mean, you could.
Because the problem is, if it takes 15 minutes to turn off, it goes off.
I feel like Spawn has such a lack of grip of reality, says bum loofah. You're a bum loofah. He's got a grip on
something.
You've got the most brutal reality out of anything.
Oh, that is so funny.
That's good.
I would say that the alarm goes off. You're awake for 15 minutes. You're already awake, so this is now your responsibility. This person is not going to do anything about waking up. So I'm with Rusty here. The solution is trying to get this person to wake up faster. Maybe they're asleep because, like, are they asleep, sleeping through this alarm? So if you're already awake, then I would have something prepared by your bed that you could just take, walk into their room and dump on them as soon as you wake up, because you're going to be awake for 15 minutes anyway because of this alarm. Like, just a glass of cold water or something, walk into the room, throw it in their face, and then just walk out. That's going to stop them from running that thing.
Yeah, I think cold water on the head, slap on the cheek.
That's assault.
Morning.
Both of the things that you guys have just suggested is
we're
actually
calling the police
assault.
already. Let's double down.
You're trying to throw them in prison. You're like we may not be following the letter of the law, but you're not following the spirit of it.
So one of the options that I tried once, and this worked for a little bit at least, is I moved my alarm like really far away from me to the point where you have to get out of bed to turn it off, right? So you can't snooze that for 15 minutes. You're up.
But maybe the problem.
No, this
is
sounds
that
like the
it sounds
alarm's
like
just
it's
going for 15
15
minutes.
Yeah, I reckon that this could be you. This could be your roommate writing in saying, basically, Rusty's put his alarm on the other side of the room. He leaves it for 15 minutes and then finally holds his ass out.
I don't do this. I don't do this. It's 10 minutes, Nick. It's 10.
10 minutes of solid alarm?
No. Oh God, no. Absolutely not. No, I hear it the second I hear it, and sometimes I do this without even realizing I've done it. I will press snooze instantly.
Yeah, right.
Unless I've got something on that day, I'm not even aware that I press snooze half the time.
Okay, I've got the answer. I've actually got the answer. You need to get this person pregnant, because when you have a baby, you'll never have this problem of like the alarm just keeps going off, because you will never have to, like, I literally have not set an alarm in 3 years. I've not set, unless it's like a flight that I need to be leaving the house at 4:30 in the morning. There's no such thing as alarms in this house anymore. And so you wake them up before that person gets woken up, before they even have a chance to set off that alarm, you're golden.
The other thing you could do is sneak into their bedroom at night and open their curtain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this was my solution to getting up, is like when I didn't want to set an alarm, because like I was reading all these studies that alarms are actually inherently bad for you and you should wake up in a natural part of your sleep cycle, and that loud noise isn't the way to do that, and blah, 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 blah. But now we have Jasper, and he just screams until we get him out of bed. So he's kind of a different kind of alarm. But I think when I was waking up to natural light, it was a really good feeling. So maybe just open their curtain.
Okay. Problem's getting to bed to be able to wake up naturally.
Oh, no, because if you just open your curtain, it forces you to, Rusty, because all of a sudden you do 3 a.m. until 6 a.m., 3 a.m. until 6 a.m. Next night you're in bed at 7 o'clock at night because you have to sleep sometime.
That's true. That's true. I still like the idea of getting them pregnant, but that's just me. All right, it's time to get ready for game number 3, Legacy versus Avant. This is a game. Two teams coming off some wins yesterday. Avant, a very decisive win. Legacy, as we said, struggled a little bit, but at the end, taking it out. This is the beginning of the pointy end of tonight, Rusty. What are we looking at in this game? What are we keeping our eyes peeled for?
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting form check, right? Legacy, of course, were pushed a bit more by Pensanet, and AV just looked like a powerhouse team yesterday. So you come into this one and see the levels that they were really at. I'm, once again, going to be looking at Chaz. I think that it's important to look at him. It's Gun Crab today, right? Spawn that's going to be playing for AV. So we might see some different creative stuff down in the bottom lane. That is something that he's very much inclined towards. And if that were the case, then my eyes go straight to Gun Crab.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is actually going to probably be a mage bottom lane. That's the only reason I can think of bringing in Guncrab. Violet's on the graphic, though. I swear.
Is Guncrab support?
Is Guncrab is support?
I'm jump checking.
Really? I know the only change was Guncrab because he was the only highlighted player on the email. But I just assumed
Appy and Guncrab.
It's Appy and Guncrab? Yeah. So I would say they're playing Syndra or Ziggs today. Like, that's the only reason I can think of bringing Guncrab in against the Legacy bottom lane.
All right, and before we jump into the third game for the evening, a reminder that we want you to jump into the opening titles of our broadcast. Today is the last day that you can film submit and enter the NeoSurf competition to win $500 in NeoSurf voucher credit to use in the League of Legends store. All you need to do is take a video of yourself joining our conference call opening titles, submit it via DM at OPL on Twitter, follow OPL and NeoSurf Esports on Twitter, and you can win yourself $500 to spend in the League of Legends store and join our opening titles. And then 5 runners-up will get $100 each. So that's very exciting to be a loser as well. Full terms and conditions are on watch.lolesports.com. So a massive thanks to our partner NeoSurf, where you can keep control of your payments in currencies around the world. You don't need to worry about currencies around the world, though. The only currency that matters is the currency of victory here in Australia. So let's see who's going to take its Legacy versus Avant. It is the Macca's Champ Select, and it is coming up after this short break. I've been told we need to fill, even though that was just like a choice throw. That was just
You got it too
beautiful.
good.
God, that was just... I actually... you know what? I'm going to break professionalism here. That really pisses me off, because that was just so sweet.
Also, it's just such a safe time. As soon as I hear that, I know I can start checking my phone for the latest OS Twitter drama. And so I'm just like a goblin, like, oh yes, tell me what's going on, phone. And then you just see me, my shiny bald head, and now I've gone bright red because of it as well, in the middle of my webcam. That's great.
That's so funny. All right. Well, there's no word yet, so I'm sure the stream's died or something. We got some more suggestions for what you should do about the bed thing, but someone in chat, Dom says my bed begins to shake slowly as my alarm. That works well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, okay.
Is that a thing?
I mean, you can get different kinds of alarms, so maybe there's something you can attach to your bed. I use my smartwatch as an alarm, and it goes gentle off. Vibration on my wrist actually just builds up the longer it's there, but it is only vibrating. So and that's actually a rather nice way to wake up. I know that other people have those weighted mats where you put them next to your bed and you need to stand on them for 5 seconds, otherwise they don't go off. And my personal favorite is the money alarms, where you have to put the 100 in there. And then as it goes off, you have 30 seconds to get up and hit snooze, otherwise hit off. Otherwise, the $100 note gets eaten by the alarm clock.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's cool. They should do one where it just automatically will direct deposit or direct withdraw from your bank account as well. Oh, this is how I could make my fortune. All right. While we figure that out and probably end up inventing the telephone again, let's jump into a short break and be back with the Macca's Champ Select after this.
So in shock.
Hey, I was like, I didn't realize we were coming back.
Yeah, no, that's what they said. So we've come back to inform you guys that unfortunately we have been having some technical delays. We are going to miss Champion Select, but then we're going to get straight into the game. So we'll be right back after this break for Avant versus Legacy. I stopped it up at the end. Throw it in the commercials.
You can't.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! This is deadly! He's got it!
Welcome to the 2020 OPL. I am Nick Boy Richardson.
And that's a beautiful hemo play onto multiple members. He gets himself a double kill.
It's Ray's doing what he does, the team fight king.
We love everybody. We love the OPL.
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.